Hi, artists of the world. I'm Natalia from Art Marketing, and on this channel, I share practical ways to grow your art business, sell more of your work, and build a creative life that actually feels sustainable. So, if that sounds like something you'd like help with, feel free to subscribe. I don't know if you had this moment recently, but a few days ago, I looked at the date and I realized that we're basically half through the year already. And my first thought was, that can't possibly be right. But apparently, we're here now, which means we're at that point of the year where a lot of us start doing mental gymnastics around our goals. You know, the kind. You remember something that you were determined to do back in January, and then immediately your brain starts producing explanations. Oh, yeah, I was going to launch that thing, finish that collection, grow my following, sell X paintings, post consistently or something, yeah, etc. And I think it's safe to say that by this time of the year, not everything is done. And we're risking a burnout and disappointment in ourselves, yeah, mental crisis, not to mention panic for some. And I want to say that I'm in the same boat with you. I'm a fellow over planner, but judging by the conversations I have with artists, I don't think I'm alone. Many of us are in the same boat because around this time of the year, a lot of people start feeling behind because reality rarely looks as neat as the plan we made in January. Life gets involved, things just happen, children get sick, work takes over, priorities change, unexpected things happen. You get tired too, you lose momentum, you get distracted by 17 new ideas that suddenly seem more exciting than the one you had in January, the one you were working on before. It happens a lot and it's also very normal. And somehow 6 months disappear, yeah, with all of that happening. And you're currently looking at the year and thinking, well, this is not exactly how I imagined things would be going. And I want to reassure you that there's nothing to worry about. It's nothing to beat yourself up for. But I also don't want this video to be one of those, like, everything is fine, don't worry about it, do nothing conversations, because sometimes we do need to stop and reassess what's happening. Because if we don't pause and look at where we are, it's very easy to spend the next 6 months repeating the exact same pattern that gave us the first 6 months. Yeah. So what I'd like to do in this video is walk you through a little bit of mid-year reset. We're not going to try to go back and catch up on everything that's been planned but not touched. We're not doing this competing with yourself sprint. But what we will do is use this as a practical way to regroup, figure out what's actually working, and make sure you finish the year feeling a little bit more intentional than you started it. And the first thing I want you to do is surprisingly simple. I want you to stop looking at the goals for a moment and look at the evidence. Seriously, let's do it this way. You get a notebook. Right now, you can pause this video, go get a piece of paper and pen. Pause done. And we're going to write down everything you've actually done this year. Not what you planned to do, not what you hoped to do, but what you actually did. How many paintings did you finish? How many pieces did you post? Did you improve a skill? Did you start showing up more consistently? Did you make a sale? Did you talk to potential collectors? Did you apply to anything? Did you start an email list? Did you finally maybe build a website or a shop? Nothing is too small though. All of these little steps accumulate, so let's count absolutely everything that you've done. Because one thing I've noticed that as artists are incredibly good at remembering what they haven't done and surprisingly bad at recognizing what they have done. And I mean it, you know, that for so many people, even figuring out who their customers are is an impossible task, let alone sales or even posting consistently. Posting consistently is difficult. And if you're doing that, notice that, okay? You're doing things that you didn't know how to do before and you're ahead of many. So everything counts. We're really experts at focusing on the hard, the undone, the difficult, you know, the negative, what's not happening. And the problem with that is that when you only look at the gaps, the things that are missing, it feels like you're standing still, even though you've actually made progress. Notice your goddamn progress. You deserve it, please. I've had months when I felt like I achieved absolutely nothing, only to sit down and realize that I've created dozens of paintings, learned new skills, met incredible people, built things that simply didn't exist several months ago. Yeah. Were there are still goals that I didn't reach? Of course, there always are. But I don't think I've ever had a year where I completed every single thing that I wanted to. That's really not the point. The point is to get an accurate picture of reality before you decide what happens next. Because if you start from the assumption that you failed, you will make very different decisions than if you start from the reality that you've already made progress, even if it wasn't the progress that you originally imagined. So once you've got a clear picture of what's actually happened during the first half of the year, the next question becomes what worked? And I know that it sounds like an obvious thing to ask, but you would be surprised how many people actually skip right past it. Because artists are very often, as I said, yeah, focused on fixing problems, which means we spend a lot of time thinking about what's not working, what am I not managing to do, what is missing, what needs improvement, what you should be doing differently. But we don't spend nearly as much time looking at the things that are already producing results. And that's a shame because clues are hiding right there. For example, maybe every time you share work in progress videos, people engage with them. Maybe every time you attend an in-person event, a fair or something, you come home with new contacts, new sales, new opportunities. Maybe your newsletter gets opened far more than you expected and far more than average, you know? Maybe collectors consistently respond to one particular body of work that you created. Maybe commissions have been surprisingly successful. Maybe you managed to find time to practice a skill that you wanted to improve. Or maybe you've discovered that when you give yourself permission to work on one painting at a time instead of five, you actually finish something, yeah? The point isn't necessarily that you've found the perfect strategy and fixed everything. It's not all or nothing game. The point is that you've probably learned something during this past 6 months and something worked. Before you start looking for new answers, it's worth paying attention to the answers you've already been given. So here's a simple exercise. Make two columns. On one side, you can write what gave me energy, and on the other side you write what gave me results from all the things that you've done, because ideally we want things to be both, yeah, but even if something only lands in one column, that is still useful information. Things that give us energy, things that feed our creativity are still majorly important, even if they're not paying you, because our creativity is essential to this business, right? And we have to take care of it, because without it, nothing moves forward. So not everything pays you with the money, okay? So let's notice that too. Sometimes, and I don't want you to be one of those artists that sometimes spend years forcing themselves to do something that they hate just because they think they're supposed to, or just because it pays. Yeah, we don't want to do that. Sometimes artists ignore the things that actually are helpful because they seem too challenging or too simple or too different from, yeah, unexpectedly different from what they imagined they should be doing as artists. Yeah, so anyway, the next part is a little bit less fun, but also incredibly important. I want you to look at the achievements that keep not happening, something that consistently does not come to you repeatedly, because there is a huge difference between a goal that simply needs more time, yeah, like a long-term goal, and a goal that keeps getting pushed to the next week, next month, next year, something that you want to start doing but you're not starting. We've all got one, at least one. Yeah, maybe it's a YouTube channel, maybe it's the website, maybe it's an online shop, maybe it's applying for an exhibition, maybe it's organizing your mailing list, anything that's like nagging you in the back of your mind, like I should be doing that, but you're not doing that. Every time you think about it, you tell yourself, yeah, and yet somehow it never becomes a today's priority. Yeah, here's the mistake people make. They assume that this means that they are disorganized, too distracted, lazy, maybe. Yeah, but I can tell you that's not the case. We're actually looking at it's a procrastination, but it has a fixable reason. You can address that reason. Sometimes it means the task is too big and you don't know the steps to approach it, so you actually have to break it down into doable steps. Yeah, sometimes it's too overwhelming and we need to maybe do some therapy, yeah, figuring out what's triggering the anxiety in you so you don't approach this. Yeah, sometimes you're scared of the outcome, and sometimes, if we're being completely honest, it means that you don't want to do it as much as you think you do. Yeah, and that's also okay. One of the most useful things that you can do during this mid-year review is stop pretending. If something hasn't happened for 6 months, don't immediately promise yourself you suddenly become a different person tomorrow. Get curious instead. Ask yourself, why is this not happening? What's the real obstacle? What would make it easier? Or do I actually maybe need to let this go? Because every goal you keep on your list takes up mental space, and you don't notice how much energy it takes from your brain on a daily basis. It sucks your juices out because it's there, it's hanging over your head, not happening. It's a constant reminder of how you're not getting where you need. Yeah, and eventually your brain starts treating it as like as a clutter, you know, all these unfinished goals, all this noise becomes something that you avoid thinking about it. Yeah, and it's this mental clutter that is keeping you from being focused well on the right things. So we're gonna do the stop doing list instead of a to-do list. Yeah, everyone makes the to-do list. We're going to do the opposite. But I think that sometimes it's even more important, you know, because you have to know how to let go of stuff you don't need. Most artists don't even have lack of ideas. If anything, the opposite is true. We have enough ideas for 3 lifetimes. The challenge is deciding which one deserve our attention right now and which ones we can review maybe in a year or never. Yeah, so I want you to ask yourself, What am I going to stop carrying? Let's be honest. There's definitely something on your list that you can just free yourself from. Maybe you're trying to be active on 4 different platforms and resenting every minute of it. Let it go. Do one, okay? Do it well. Maybe you're constantly redesigning your website instead of promoting your work and doing actual content. Maybe you're postponing your social media activity and focusing on art fairs and markets, and you feel guilty because you should be doing Instagram, but somehow you're not doing it. Well, maybe you shouldn't be doing Instagram, because maybe if it sucks so much of your energy, you need to prioritize something else. Although Instagram is important and it's helpful, I believe that it's helpful for 100% of the artists, but sometimes you're stretched too thin and you need to prioritize, so you can prioritize something that actually works for you, that you feel good doing. Yeah. Maybe you're saying yes to opportunities that don't actually align with your goals or with your personality, with your dream lifestyle as an artist. Maybe you're comparing yourself to artists whose lives, careers, and circumstances are completely different from your own. And now that you've looked at what happened, what worked, and what needs to go, we get to decide what happens next. And this is where I want you to resist the temptation to create another heroic 6-month plan. The one where you're going to paint every day, post every day, grow your audience, launch your website, build an email list, start a YouTube channel, get gallery representation, exercise 5 times a week, and somehow become the most organized human being on earth. Yeah? Don't. It's okay. That version of you sounds wonderful. I don't want to be that too, but it's not really connected to reality, where other things in our life keep existing and they need us as well. They keep happening. They keep needing your attention. Yeah. So we're making a plan for the actual you, the version that's sitting here right now, the one with limited time, limited energy, real life to manage, family, etc. So instead of choosing 10 priorities, let's choose 1 or 2 maybe. Yeah, let's minimize the things that you're working on at the same time. Just one is fine. If 6 months from now you could look back and say, okay, that I have done, that really moved forward. What could you choose? Maybe building a cohesive body of work, focusing on your art. Yeah, maybe it's getting your first sales. Maybe it's growing your Instagram. Maybe it's developing a consistent studio practice. Maybe it's creating enough work for an exhibition so you can organize a show. Yeah, whatever it is, let that become your main focus. Maybe not the only focus, but your main focus, okay? The one that you will prioritize over everything else. Because when everything matters equally, nothing gets the attention that it deserves. And finally, I want you to create what I would call an embarrassingly realistic plan. A plan that survives bad weeks, low motivation days, being tired after work, not having time at all. Because consistency is wonderful, but it's not built on your best days, most high performance days. It's built on the ordinary ones and the low energy ones, all kinds of days. When you're tired, when you're busy, when you're distracted, you still manage to show up. So instead of thinking, I'm going to spend 3 hours every day on my art business, maybe you could say every Tuesday evening I will spend 1 hour working on this specific thing on my newsletter. Yeah. Instead of saying I'm going to post every day, you can say maybe I'm going to post 3 times a week. You reduce the quantity so that actually becomes doable. Instead of I'm going to finish 20 paintings, you can say I'm going to finish 1 painting every 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. The goal is to make the plan small enough and specific enough and measurable enough so that you actually follow through. And I'm not saying that you should aim lower and not dream big. Absolutely, you should dream big. You should aim higher. But I just want you to keep in mind that small plans, consistently repeated actions usually accomplish far more than big ambitions that, look impressive on paper, but it's hard to deal with all that because it's just too much at once. Being realistic does not mean settling for something less, okay? It's training yourself, giving yourself space and time to actually get things done, okay? And you're going to be happy in the end. So if you're feeling behind right now and you're already like, oh my God, it's June and what's going on? I've done nothing. The other half of the year is still in front of you, okay? Nothing is lost. You haven't run out of time. You haven't ruined anything. You are simply at the checkpoint, a chance to look where you've been, decide what matters most, and make a few adjustments before going forward. So what I would recommend is maybe set aside an hour this week, maybe rewatch this video again, review what happened, make your lists, keep what deserves to stay, let go of what doesn't need to stay, and choose one meaningful priority for the month ahead. And and then build a plan around the person that you actually are, not the person you imagine you would become when motivation is high and life is easy, okay? 6 months from now, you will be living with the results of the choices that you make today. The question is whether you will use this moment to make a small course correction while there's still plenty of year left. Thank you for watching this. Please like this video if it was helpful and subscribe to my channel for more help with your art marketing needs. I'll see you next Wednesday.